Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Sands. Welcome to the Food Origins Podcast. I'll be talking to people about their unique stories with food. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support, and thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Food Origins Podcast. Today, my guest is Chris Olson, a good friend of mine who I've known for a long time. We work together with the San Francisco Police Department. He's been a police officer for over 15 years, and he currently works as a bomb tech on the Explosive Ordinance Disposal Squad, otherwise known as the Bomb Squad. And we talk food, all things food. We met working together, and we have a lot of great meals together. And he gets into some great food stories, traveling, and all his adventurous eating. And then he drops more information about his family's new food business. And so I appreciate you guys listening, taking your time out of your day, wherever you are. I hope you enjoy it. Hey, we are live. We're rolling. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you coming on. And it's been a while, and this one's going to be a fun one.
Sounds good to me. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Dave.
I'm glad you're here, man. Talking all things food today.
Sounds good to me.
So, I mean, let's get right into it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your ethnicity, all that good stuff.
Sounds good to me. I was born and raised in San Francisco, the Richmond district specifically. Grew up, spent my entire childhood in the city, running around the Richmond district, going to school in the Richmond. What else? I went high school in the Richmond district. Sorry, I'm saying Richmond a little too much, but that's that. And then went to school in Santa Barbara eventually. Spent 4 years down there, returned back to San Francisco, moved away for a while to Phoenix, Arizona for about 3 years, and then came back to San Francisco and joined the police department in San Francisco, which is where I met you, actually. So I don't know how many people know what your background is, but that's where you and I first met.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very brief intro. I don't know if you want me to go deeper into my childhood or anything like that.
I mean, a lot of times we talk about food. I've known Chris, my entire career with law enforcement. Probably when this podcast comes out, unfortunately, we won't be coworkers. I may not be on the force anymore, but that's another story.
I may not either, Dave. You never know.
Yeah. Safely, I hope.
Yeah.
And, me and Chris go way back. We've been always talking food. We went to, we had a meal together a long time ago in the Mission in San Francisco at a little known place.
Let me, can I interject?
Why not? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll never forget that meal. And okay. I think,
I'll let you tell the story.
Okay. All right. We're diving right in. This is a little jump ahead.
But yeah, this is how we met.
Yeah, this is, met. This is how we started bonding over food.
Correct.
So Dave took me to we were working, I think. We were plainclothes at the time. Forgive me if this isn't the story, but Dave took me to kind of a run-of-the-mill Chinese restaurant on Mission Street in San Francisco, deep in the Mission District. And this is, we went in, I'm like, okay, I love Chinese food. If, we'll get into that. That's probably my favorite childhood cuisine, but Americanized Chinese food, I guess. But Dave took me to this kind of run-of-the-mill Chinese restaurant. And he's like, no. I'm looking at the menu. I'm like, this looks great. And he's like, no. There's a secret menu. And I was like, what the hell are you can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, yeah, just, we got to get the secret menu. And so from there on, I think we had, there was pork belly, beef tongue from what I remember. They had fried rice is also kind of my thing. They had an amazing fried rice. I want to say salted fish fried rice.
Yes,
fish. Yeah,
that's correct.
And
I think we had like the Szechuan peppercorn, like mapo tofu.
Yes,
it was like kind of tongue numbing a little.
Oh, dude, it was so good though.
But it was good.
Yes, everything
spicy,
was
but super good.
Yes, super spicy. And then it was just who was the chef?
Danny Bowen.
Yeah. Okay, because that was phenomenal. And I think they even opened up a location, a pop-up in New York. Right?
Yeah,
they
I believe so. I believe there's a location in New York. I'm not sure if it's still there, but as far as I know, Danny's in New York.
Is the one in the city even still there?
It's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah. I know the rest. The front was Longshan Chinese food.
Longshan or Longshan. Yeah. And I liked that about it though. Like I liked how it was a little bit of a secret.
Totally.
They did post the menu, but it was like this little one page on the inside of the glass.
Exactly.
Like, oh yeah, Mission Chinese is here.
Yeah.
And that's Mission Chinese, and we've been talking about food ever since.
Yeah, ever since. That like really turned me on. I mean, your passion back then for food kind of turned me on to the whole diving deeper into food. Mm-hmm. And that was just such a pivotal experience for me at that restaurant. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And we've been talking about that ever since.
I know.
And let's dive into that. Let's get into your childhood eats. That's kind of like the first thing I ask everybody.
Yeah.
What did you eat growing up? What did you have as a kid?
So, I glossed over my childhood, but growing up in the Richmond district was very important to me because it made me, I mean, you're another local city kid,
Sure.
You grew up in the Sunset though, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
See, different hoods, but whatever. But I grew up on the, in the inner Richmond, which at the time and still very much is, but it was a lot of people from Hong Kong moved there and established businesses. And so a very heavy Chinese influence in my neighborhood. And so growing up, I mean, I love Chinese food. I was basically raised on it. And as I kind of touched on earlier, I guess you could say the Americanized version of it, but it was all I knew. And we would go to, my parents were not, my mother was a flight attendant. My father was a businessman at the time. So they were always traveling, and they weren't, when they were home, they didn't want to cook. So we would go out. And my favorite restaurant as a kid was on Clement and 6th, and it was called New Peking. And I would beg my parents to go there every night. And so Chinese food is just, I love it to this day. I mean, it is my go-to for everything.
Was there like a particular thing that you got all the time?
I mean, I would always have to have, when I was a kid, fried rice. And I mean, still I always have to get fried rice, but when I was a kid, it was always fried rice. I would get Mongolian lamb.
Lamb, not beef, huh?
No, not beef. I would always try to get lamb, and New Peking always had lamb. And I think my father loved lamb, so he would order the lamb, and then I got into it.
And side note, I think you are the one that told me more about Mongolian lamb, because I used to get beef all the time.
Okay.
I have a Sunset Chinese story too. There's Tien Phu, which used to be on Noriega, and I think 20th or 21st, one of those streets up there, not too far from me. And they did great Mongolian beef, the whole Mongolian beef, spicy onions, green onions, double onions, rice, and an egg roll, right?
Yeah.
But I think you're the one.
Okay.
That were like, oh, there's Mongolian lamb. I think you might be the guy.
I could be, because I've always loved it.
That's cool. So that's different.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I usually ask, that's your favorite thing? Is there anything you didn't like there that you were just like, ooh?
At that particular restaurant?
There, or?
I was thinking about that. And as a child, my mother used to tell me that, as soon as I could eat solids, I was eating calamari. She remembers I'd have the little tentacles sticking out of my mouth. And so I've always kind of been an adventurous eater. But what I didn't like back then, I remember, was like mayonnaise. Couldn't stand mayonnaise. Maybe the consistency of it. The texture. I still don't really like a lot of mayonnaise. But as a kid, just couldn't do it. And like flan. I don't know who likes flan, but I certainly don't. Yeah.
It's an acquired taste.
It is an acquired taste.
Texture.
The texture. Yeah, I just can't do it.
It's always about texture.
Yeah.
I'll take tiramisu over flan any
I love
day,
tiramisu.
but that's just me.
Yeah. Me too.
Is there anything traumatic with food? I always tell mine, like, it's very brief. It's nothing crazy, but I got my tonsils taken out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the first thing they give you after, you're like, oh, I'm hungry. I can't wait to have something. Here's some Jell-O.
Yeah.
You can have Jell-O for like 2 days. And I'm like, I never want Jell-O.
No.
Ever again. Ever.
I can see that. Yeah, Jell-O would get old.
It's water and sugar and a color.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right.
There's nothing else in there.
No.
I mean, now you can put all kinds of stuff in it. My mom used to put bananas in there and stuff, but I was like, sorry, Mom. You know when I got Jell-O. She's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Your dad likes it. I'm like, oh, God.
Jell-O is also that weird consistency.
But no, yeah, I mean, at 3 years old eating calamari, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
Adventurous.
I mean, I traumatic things with food, for me, my memories, I don't have anything as a young kid.
Yeah. Is there stuff that you, besides mayo, is there anything else that you were like, nah, I'm not eating that?
Oh man, nothing that comes to mind. I would eat pretty much everything, even veggies, but no, nothing that comes to mind. Just like mayonnaise and creamy stuff. I didn't seem to like creamy stuff as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cream sauces and stuff like that?
Yeah, I didn't like it. Okay. Yeah, I wanted, relatively plain things. I love seafood, but it had to be plain, like no sauce on it. And
then that kind of curtails into adulthood. Like, I mean, obviously how much has that changed? Has it not changed? You're still an adventurous eater.
Oh man, it's gotten
you like stuff that you didn't like before.
Well, again, I think that I've always kind of liked a broad spectrum of things. But now, I mean, I will eat anything. I will try anything once. And I consider myself to be like a very adventurous eater. I've tried game meats. People are probably going to hate this, but I've tried whale.
I heard this whale was in, hang on, I got some inside track here for you. I think you tried the, whale was in Norway.
Yeah, whale was in Norway. I had
Tell us about that.
So we were at this, unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the restaurant we were in, but it was in a town called Tromsø, which is up in the Arctic Circle, a beautiful, beautiful village up there, a city up there. We were there in the winter to go see the Northern Lights. And so it was pretty much, there was an hour of light a day. Very surreal experience. I highly recommend it, but just, you didn't know what was up and what was down. But we ended up in some restaurant, very, very, Norway in the winter is just very homey and candles everywhere. This restaurant was gorgeous looking, and they had whale on the menu, and it was a smoked whale. And I want to say it was a Minsk whale. I don't, forgive me, I probably butchered that, but I forget the sort of whale it was, the type of whale. But it was just it was like a smoked whale meat, and it was good, but it was like smoked meat. So there was nothing crazy about it.
Crazy different.
No.
Was it like dense or more?
No, because it was so thinly cut and smoked. Okay. I would have loved to tried like a dense piece of whale,
bigger piece.
Yeah.
I've got another inside track thing that you've tried. Let's get into your adventurous eating, and then we'll get into some of the other topics.
Whatever.
But, you've had horse in Canada.
Yes, I had. So that actually was a dense piece of meat, and people are again going to hate this, but
it's served in other countries.
It is. Yeah. I've had horse actually in Japan and in Montreal specifically, and the horse was a big piece of steak. And that was a solid, dense piece of meat, very lean, very clean, very sort of like minerally. My food explanations are probably nowhere near yours, but
have you had elk?
Oh yeah. So I had elk 2 days ago. Yeah.
Does it resemble that, or probably the leanness, right?
Super lean. There was like no fat in this, on this piece of meat. And some people probably don't like that as well. People prefer the fat.
Did it have a gamey flavor?
Yeah, I felt like it had a very different kind of gamey, but I like gamey.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Which is okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
There are many people that can't get used to it, but I think people need to understand where our food comes from, and a lot of times, that's all we used to do is hunt for our food.
Absolutely.
And it is going to have some flavor. I mean, it's whatever the animal was going through its life, it's the flavor you might get.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. And then, I asked Chris's wife before we got this podcast for a couple of different little things. And that's one of the things she said was Chris orders the oddest thing on the menu possible.
Yeah.
What else have you eaten that's kind of crazy?
So in Montreal as well, I had seal lasagna, which was unremarkable because the seal meat was it was like minced, almost like hamburger.
Okay.
And that was in, like a heavy lasagna sauce, but that was at a very French Canadian restaurant, in a neighborhood called Verdun, which is very local Montreal, like not the tourist areas. Okay. My buddy and I went down there specifically for this seal.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, it was interesting. The whole, they didn't speak English. There's parts of Montreal where it's very dual language. This was all French, okay. Which I found very, very cool. And I enjoyed the experience. There was like an old band playing in there. It was a very local restaurant, but the food, the lasagna was unremarkable. Like you wouldn't be able to tell if it was hamburger or seal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So hopefully, they told me it was seal. I believe them.
It's well hidden.
Yeah, it was well hidden, unfortunately.
Any other places that you think you had some odd stuff that people would want to know about?
Yeah, in Nepal, I was there with my wife. She had to do some work over there. And we went to a restaurant. We were brought there by some local friends of ours there. And I had lungs, beef lung, water buffalo lungs, that were in this very, very spicy sauce. And it was fantastic. It was the texture of the lung. I think that was my first experience eating lungs. Was just very different than other meats that I had other parts of an animal. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed that. And the spice was also very, very good.
Nice.
Very Nepalese. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any other countries you want to bring up?
Let's see. I just trying to think. So I was not long ago, the pandemic, man, time has just gotten weird. But in 2017, I think I went to Arusha, which is in Tanzania. And a buddy and I were walking around Arusha, and we met up with a local who was kind of showing us around. And he took us to a barbecue place in Arusha. And so there were all these meats, just, the weather was, it wasn't hot, but it wasn't cold, probably 60s.
Okay.
And all, in Arusha, they just have, meat hanging, unrefrigerated, just kind of out, flies are there, whatever, it is what it is. And he was like, this is one of the best barbecue places in the city. So we were like, okay. And so they grabbed a piece of meat, and it was cattle. And they barbecued it, and it was quite good. There was some sort of spice on it, and then you eat it with toothpicks. They chop it all up for you. But that experience, also the atmosphere of that place, that was quite different because we were in this, it's like a dark barbecue joint, unlike anything we have here in the States. And then inside there was a L-shaped pool table. I'd never seen that before. And I don't know if you've heard of the Maasai people, but they wear those very... the red and kind of black garb, and so it was a bunch of Maasai men,
Maasai warrior clan, in
Tanzania, and they were wearing their traditional garments, and they were playing pool on this L-shaped pool table, and I just thought it was something very, very different for me. I'd never experienced that.
For sure.
Eating barbecue there, and it was very cool.
Didn't make you drink any odd drinks?
I think I was having Serengeti beer, and just the beer was good with the barbecue, and
all right, that's cool.
What
about the Asian countries?
Oh man,
I know you've been, just so you know, Chris is a little more well traveled than usual. But, you've been to Japan, right?
Yeah. Japan. I love Japanese food is also my go-to. I love it. But in Japan, I don't know. That was such a whirlwind for me. I was kind of taken around by this guy, Koji Takuro, wonderful, wonderful guy. He just took me to all these restaurants. I couldn't even name them, but I also know he told me I was eating horse. We went have you been to Tokyo, Dave?
One day.
One day. You haven't been there.
One day there.
Oh, you did. Okay, so you have.
I have.
Okay,
but not when I was a kid. So I definitely need to go back for sure. So
okay.
Somebody in Tokyo, Japan wants to bring me. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Yeah,
I would love to go there with you and experience the food,
sure.
and because I again, it was a whirlwind, but I just remember going we went to like a stand-up sushi restaurant, which is very common in Tokyo because people were on the move and going.
The move,
yeah. And it was great. There were things I had never seen and I don't know because of the language barrier. My friend Koji, his English isn't the best. My Japanese is nil. And so I didn't always know what I was eating there. But yeah, I mean, wonderful. I love the Japanese food. To me seems so simple, but there's so much preparation and detail that it goes into their food. Yeah. And it just makes it taste so good.
100%.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into, obviously you're super adventurous than most. It goes into your travels again. Is you got some best and worst restaurant experiences that you want to tell everybody about? And you could do it any order you like.
Yeah, no. Okay. Let's see. Well, I'll start with one of the worst because, and again, I am so pro restaurant and I am so pro, restaurants are such hard businesses and I don't want to shit on any restaurant if I don't have to. And I just won't. But a very bad experience was actually here in San Francisco.
And I think, just before not to interrupt you too much, but like people need to know that it's not always, I'm not here to tell you every perfect tasty experience. We need to hear the bad ones.
Totally. Absolutely. No. And do you want me to name these places too, or? That's
on you. It's up to you. I mean, you don't have to. Why don't you just tell us the bad experience?
Okay. Well, one bad experience was a restaurant on Market Street. And it was what it was. And I ordered, I'll just never forget this because I knew when I was eating it, I ordered a Korean steak omelet, which sounds horrible. And it was horrible, but I ate the thing. And I spent, and it was Kelsey, my wife's birthday, that weekend. And we were going to Calistoga. I spent the entire weekend on the toilet and with my head and the other end of I even called them. They were so nice. And I was like, hey, I ordered this morning. She knew. She's like, okay, thank you for telling me.
Oh my God.
But it was, food poisoning is the worst, man. And you know it when you're eating it. At least lately I've been more, but I don't know. Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But then I knew. And it's just like, that was awful. Other, bad experiences for me have just turned into, again, I know restaurants can have off nights. I know, chefs can have a bad night. But anyway, service for me, ruins dining experiences and just kind of overall, I don't have specifics, but I guess maybe the older I get, it's like, man, even if the food is bad and you have somebody who is really, really attentive and helping you and making you feel comfortable, that speaks volumes.
It does.
And that I will return and give that restaurant a shot. Now, if I'm going to a place where the food is very, very expensive, I'm made to feel uncomfortable as I'm sitting at the table because I don't know which fork or, I'm exaggerating a bit, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Where the servers are talking down to me if I don't know something about the wine or something about this food. I am so turned off by that.
Yeah.
And I won't go back. I don't care how good the food is,
I agree. I mean, I'm there to learn, especially if it's something new and a new experience.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Tell me about it. Walk me through it. I
love the waiters that I'm not saying they have to be perfect, but they recite the menu.
Yes.
They tell you the specials.
Yes.
And, you don't necessarily have to memorize my order. I've seen waiters and waitresses try to memorize the order and then mess it up. I'm like, I don't need you to do that, but I do want to know if I'm asking about something. It'd be nice to know, hey, where'd this come from? Or, oh, this is what the chef's making today. He's been working on it. This is a new recipe, or this was braised for 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the stuff I want to know. Like, oh, wow, they took some time.
Totally.
So you better cherish this instead of scarf it down in 2 seconds, you know?
I mean, that adds to the whole experience.
It does.
Yeah. You just reminded me of a very, very good experience. And this is going to sound weird, but for my mother-in-law's birthday, we went to Club 21, which is in Disneyland. And I know people are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about, man?
Some know.
But what you just touched on, you know, the whole experience and these people, and, you know, the food was very, very good, no doubt, but it was the sommelier, it was the service, it was every course was a new story. And that just I'll never forget that, you know, we drank a wine that was made by nuns in an Italian monastery, you know, just really, really cool stuff that you don't hear every day. And so that was a good experience that you just reminded me of. And that was all about the storytelling and all about the service, and the food was great too.
Yeah. And that's sometimes, like you said, like if the food's all right, but like you got excellent service. Yeah. I mean, it speaks volumes. Yeah. Big time. I mean, it just makes you happy. You have a good feeling when you leave, and it creates the full circle moment of everything. And that's part of every restaurant's dream, is to make sure that their customer is happy.
Right.
From the start all the way to the end.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
And then we'll get into some local spots.
Oh man. Yeah.
So I always tell everyone, obviously Chris is, he's a local San Franciscan. So, we're fortunate to be on location in Belmont, California today. My friend's Jim is letting us borrow the space for the podcast. So I appreciate it. And that's Rise Above Performance Training in Belmont, California. So thanks, Doug. Anyways, tell us some local spots. Give us some good ones that you'd like people to know. You don't have, their friends, or it doesn't matter. Tell us a couple spots, and then.
So some of these I know that you and I have been to together. Mm-hmm. One that, always just comes to mind right away is High Key Migia. You're a fan, right?
I know. You're the one that took me there.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, what do you think?
It's so good. It's funny you bring that one up. I've seen it. I saw it posted the other day on Instagram. And Chris is the one that took me there. It's so good. It's not in the greatest area. No, it is in the Tenderloin.
It's gotten worse too,
but if you can make the trip, it's worth it. I get the egg noodle. I think the combination wonton with egg noodles
and everything in it.
With everything, I don't hold back. I just, whatever the combination is with egg noodles, it is so good. You can eat it for breakfast. You can eat it for lunch and dinner.
And people do.
We've been in there early. I think the time you took me, we had to go early.
Yeah.
It's another work and lunch. And we're like, well, we can get it when we can get it.
Yeah.
And we got to get in there.
It's more of like a breakfast lunch spot because they close at 4 p.m.
Right.
And it is like, I'm not a noodle guy. I've always been like a rice guy. Mm-hmm. But these noodles are unbelievable. And, I get the egg noodles with the wontons and the meatballs, and the spleen is in it. For some people, you don't have to get it with spleen. I don't know if you did, Dave, but
I think I got it with whatever. It's not my favorite thing, but mean,
it is.
It's so good. The broth is piping hot when you get it. So the noodles are perfect texture. Yes. Just this whole combination. Yeah.
And this is a super, super local spot. As Dave said, it's not in the greatest neighborhood. It has gotten worse over the years, but you're fine. Just go in there.
There's a reason why it's still there.
Exactly.
It's still cranking out phenomenal food.
Yep.
And
I ate there the other day.
Oh man.
They're back open. They were just doing to-goes, but they're back open. You can dine in there and go.
I'll
Whoever's listening, go to High Key Migia. It is phenomenal.
Yep.
So that's one spot, and I know you and I have been there together. Mm-hmm. What else? So I don't know if maybe we've been here too. You at Lee, Timmy's. Do you know it? Chinatown, Broadway, and it's either Stockton or Powell. I always mix up the two. You've never been there.
I don't think so.
It used to be.
What do they serve there?
Chinese. So like seafood Chinese, Hong Kong style Chinese.
Okay.
And
I'd say maybe. I can't be confident that I've been there.
But disappointingly, I think they might be closed because I've been driving by and they've been dark and I'm just like, what is going on? But they're known for their salt and pepper calamari.
Okay.
Very thin, like flash fried almost, and just so delicious. And their sauce, which is like soy sauce with jalapenos marinated inside. Very, very good. So you at Lee, but I'm just worried that they're not going to reopen. Other local spots. What else do I love? I mean, man, so many, but Sushi Ron in Sausalito. You've been there?
I have been there a long time ago.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's like my go-to sushi right now. I like restaurants a little. I mean, I love restaurants in the city, but Sushi Ron is in Sausalito, right over the Golden Gate Bridge. Cool location, very, very good sushi, in my opinion. They have a very good omakase menu. Get that every time I go. Chef's Choice, right.
Very nice.
So yeah, and then I always hit up the spots by my house too, like Perry's. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Did you also take me to the boat noodle place? That's not far from Haiki also. I think it's Zenyai Thai. I think it is.
I don't know that
the boat noodles. Well, then that's
where is that? What street is that on?
That's a good question. I think I know it's off of Polk, so. It's
off
somewhere
of
down.
Polk, so not on.
It's somewhere down there.
Boat noodle place. I don't think that was me.
Anyways,
who would that have been?
I don't know. Another coworker, but I know that's come up many times. That boat noodles, it's super good. And at that time, the noodles, it's a small bowl, so you can order multiple. You can order like a second or third one servings. So they're small usually.
What is a boat noodle? This definitely wasn't me because I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I guess it's have you been to Thailand?
No,
I have not.
No,
but, I guess that's obviously it's a Thailand thing, and my friend Mark probably knows more about it. But I think it's just a quick dish, so it's just got a little bit of meat, a little bit of noodles, a little bit of sauce, some veg, and it's just a small portion, and you can get it.
Interesting.
And
what kind of noodles are they?
I believe they're rice noodles, and they're usually. I could be wrong, but I think they're like a little bit wider than usual. They're not thin.
Okay.
They're a little wider. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's I think there's a bunch of variations to it.
Okay.
I just thought I brought it up because it's another city spot.
Oh man, anything city,
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
We'll definitely put all these spots in the notes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into, we can't not talk about it, but the pandemic is kind of, everyone's stuck at home cooking. Did you pick up anything that you started cooking?
So I thought about this question and I not really. And here's why. So I've never been the biggest cook in the world. I know how to cook some things and I can do some things well, but, I was very, now I understand, I don't want to get into politics of things or whatever, but I was very, very upset at the demand for all these restaurants to have to close down. I was very nervous for them. I still am. I'm very disappointed, and
I agree.
This is people's livelihoods. And so Kelsey and I made a huge point to support every restaurant we could during this time and still do. And it's just so many people lost their jobs and lost their businesses and lost everything because they were told to shut down because they weren't essential. I get angry. So their jobs are not essential. Their livelihood is not essential for them to feed their family. It's a whole nother show, Dave. Whole nother show.
But I'm 100% on board. I used to cook for a living before I was in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And I feel for all the restaurants, businesses, coffee shops, whatever it is, and food service. And, the government needs to know, this is not okay.
Not at all.
And I think the stat I heard for San Francisco alone was like, I don't know, 30 to 40% restaurant closes. And we lost some classics too.
Yeah, no, I know.
There's some seriously long running restaurants that had to disappear because, you know, they were just like, we can't function like this.
Right.
You know, some people just weren't ready to do the to-go thing. You know, not everyone has an app to order food off of.
No.
You know, and it's tough with the to-go services. They upcharge.
Yep.
So it's difficult. You know, a lot of times you just got to, you know, just to be mindful is just order directly from the restaurant.
Yeah.
Get to know your person.
Yes.
Get to know the owner. Get to know the workers there.
Yes.
Know their names. Try to get to know them on a first name basis. And it's a much better experience for yourself too. When they're just like, hey, Chris, thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
And they appreciate it a lot. Like, not expecting you to tip them, you know, every time you go there, but like you're ordering there all the time anyway. So that's all they appreciate. And they're, you know, it's just going to make a better experience. And it's been rough to watch.
Yeah.
It's
very
been rough to watch to see, oh, this place had to close. You know, and then you're looking on Google or wherever you find your restaurants and Yelp and stuff. And then you're like, it's temporary close or this location. It's just a huge bummer.
It's a huge bummer. And I just, would be very disappointing. So during this time, we would just order out as much as we could and support, you know, whatever restaurant we could. We'd try new ones all the time. Yeah. And we'd try to always order direct. You're right. Because there's so much upcharge from delivery apps and whatever. But I am so saddened by, and I'll leave it at this, but it's just like, you know, for ones that were able to stay open and do to-goes, I thought about all the, you know, the busboys who no longer had a job, the servers who could no longer work, a bartender if the restaurant had a bar, that, you know, it just maddening. All these people lost their jobs.
Totally.
So, anyway, but, you know, and we would cook. Kelsey's a much better cook than I. But, you know, I just would make my staple go-tos if she was out working or something.
What are your staple go-tos?
Just, you know, like meat. So I'm very simple when I'm at home.
Steak or? Yeah,
like I would do steaks, or I would get like elk. There's a market right by my house where I could get elk or venison and then, you know, just cook it up and I would use some sauces and just very, very simple. Kelsey doesn't eat meat, so we differ on that. Okay. But that's why I would just cook for myself. And my son is, I have two sons now, but my older son he only eats very specific things. He won't eat what I eat. So.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
Your wife mentioned he eats pretty simple.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
so that was my next question. Yeah. Food and cooking as a dad. So how's that been? And you're telling me what he doesn't eat what you eat? No.
He won't eat. I mean, so
he's not as adventurous as you?
No. And I, you know, I love him more than anything, but I want him to experience. I mean, food is just, you got it. People that don't try stuff blow my mind because you're just missing out on so much experience, good and bad. You know, I mean, we've all had bad stuff, but anyway, so my son right now, pretty much his only food that he will eat are quesadillas. He'll eat a quesadilla, just cheese. He'll eat French fries with tons of ketchup.
Okay.
Occasionally he'll eat like chicken nuggets, like, you know, the crappy microwave chicken nuggets that he'll drench in ketchup. And then he'll eat steak frites, he likes to call it. But that's like, we would get him steak initially, but now we'll just get him hamburger and call it steak. And he'll also have to dunk that in ketchup. He's all about the sugar and the ketchup, I think, you know, but that's kind of all he'll eat. Oh, and fruit. He'll eat fruit.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, but it's all sugar, right?
It bums you out a little bit.
Well, I've always, so I love sushi. I love going to all these different sushi restaurants. And I was like, Grant, my son's name is Grant. I was like, are you going to be my sushi buddy? And he's like, yeah, Dad, I'm going to be your sushi buddy. But then he won't try anything, you know. But
he'll get there.
Yeah, I hope so. I've got another boy now, so maybe he'll get there before.
Yeah, and you know, I think like it's just not letting I think you probably know this, not letting any ingredient be weird.
Right. No.
Don't go, oh, that's kind of funky. No, just be like, oh, try it.
Yeah.
You know?
I took, not that long ago, Grant to Japantown in San Francisco. When was the last time you were in Japantown?
I've been there not too long ago.
So that's like one of my favorite.
I mean, I grew up going there.
Yeah.
My mom and me used to go there all the time with my brother and stuff. And
yeah.
I mean, you can try something. You can try to go somewhere different every time.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. Did you know that San Francisco, San Jose, and Los Angeles are the only cities with like a real technical Japantown? I didn't know that.
As far as I know, I don't know. I know there's some other, like, to be honest, San Mateo could have a Japantown.
Oh no, I know. There's a lot.
Heavily populated with Japanese and Japanese restaurants. They have some of the awesome places there.
Old school ones too.
Old school.
Yeah.
And one of my other guests was on, he runs Takahashi Market. That market's been there since 1906.
I want to go there. I see
it's
you.
A Japanese market, but it's now become, Asian and Hawaiian. With all the population, they start requesting more Hawaiian stuff. But yeah, like there's so many places.
Yeah. Forgive my ignorance. Like, what would a Hawaiian thing be?
Well, so a lot of times it's kind of what the locals like to eat.
Yeah.
Like plate lunch. So it's almost like a lunch special, but it's still called plate lunch. And usually it's like a local
Spam musubi.
Spam musubi is the number one thing.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. I think Spam is sold more in Hawaii than any other place in the entire world. And it was a war thing, right?
World War II.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, yeah, they branched to not just one Spam thing. I mean, you guys can listen to Bobby's podcast, but like he has Spam musubi, he has salmon belly, bacon, and a bunch of different variations to change it all up. But yeah, I mean, we can talk. We don't have to do it here, but we'll talk off air about all the places in the area. But yeah, there's just so much around. In Japantown, I mean, unfortunately, I lost my mom a couple years ago, and it's a hard thing for me to go there sometimes just because she's not there. But yeah, there's so many places. Ramen. There's even that funky restaurant on the bridge that has like spaghetti. And stuff,
right on the bridge. It's on the bridge.
Yeah. Is it called? I forget. On the Bridge restaurant.
Yeah.
There's some ramen places in there.
Yeah. My old favorite sushi restaurant it's gone now, but it was Fuku Sushi. I don't know if you remember that.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was on the side near the theater. Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was on that side.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I'd been there. There's a few places. I think I'm drawing a blank on the place, but they serve the marinated miso black cod at one of the places, and that's kind of super good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a black cod, like a fillet, marinated for like 24, 48 hours, and then they broil it. It comes out super soft, super flaky. That's kind of Nobu's known for that. Okay. That's his famous dish, besides among others, but that's his famous thing. Once he did that, everyone's like, "Oh, I have to go to his restaurant." And then he's like, "Well, I do 50 other things besides that." But yeah, that's his kind of, his kind of dish. And
very cool.
I played around with it. I've posted about it. I made it, and actually, it was cool that Nobu like talked about it, like commented. He's like, "Oh, it looks good." I was like, "Oh, I passed. I think I gotta
Nobu commented on yours.
Yeah,
good.
It was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, that's a cool dish. I like. If you see it on the menu, I recommend getting it. Miso black cod. Go to Nobu's. Any of Nobu's restaurants are all phenomenal. But yeah, that's something that's there. I'll have to look it up and post that in the notes for the miso black cod. But yeah, man, Japantown for me is it's a staple.
Yeah,
and I didn't really know about San Jose's that much, and LA's I have very little time in LA's.
Yeah,
I think I've driven through it. I haven't really eaten there, but San Francisco's Chinatown and Japantown is where I have more time in. But yeah, I mean, I probably ate at every place in Japantown at one point. Sampo was there.
Yeah. I think it still
Tampopo.
is.
I think Tampopo's
gone. Yeah, that's Tampopo's like now gone. A karaoke spot or something.
Yeah. So Sampo was a long time one for my family. And then, the old bowling alley used to be there.
Japantown Bowl, man.
Japantown Bowl.
Dude, I have many great memories there.
You got Nijiya Market.
Still there?
Still there.
Benihana. Was there the other day. Benihana's still there. I haven't been there in a while. But
yeah. There's just, there's Uji matcha ice cream there now. Yep. That's a newer brand, but they're really good. They do a black sesame also. Yeah, and I took my mom there to get matcha ice cream, and she loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up going there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like Japantown. I guess there's only 3.
I mean, that's
crazy.
Technical. As you said, there's cities all over the United States that have Japanese areas or
you
centers.
Have a favorite ramen spot? I should ask you that.
Ramen. See, again, I mean,
there's a lot of places.
There are. And when I go to Noodles, Dave, you know where I go, man. Haiki Migiya.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the biggest noodle guy, but ramen, my favorite ramen spot. I'm just trying to remember where the last
put you on the spot, but that's all good.
No, I mean, nothing is coming up. I mean, where was the ramen place that you and I went to a couple?
So that's Orenchi Beyond.
That's still there?
That's in
right?
the Mission.
Yeah,
I believe it's on
15th in Valencia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have their original locations in Santa Clara, and that's kind of where I heard the name, and I was like, oh, they're near us. And so that's when we started hitting it up.
Have you been to the one in Santa Clara?
Yeah, I have. And that's the reason why their ramen's super good. Their chicken karaage is super good, super crispy.
Yeah, you made us order that, and that was.
I was like, you had to have that. That's like their staple. It's one of my favorites. My brother's favorite too. As far as I think it's I wouldn't say it's like a lot of people know about chicken karaage, but chicken karaage is the like Japanese chicken nugget that is like forgotten about sometimes.
Yeah.
Some people just bypass the entire appetizer menu and go straight to the main dishes. But like, if you haven't had chicken karaage, you need to have it. If it's made right, there's a couple places that make it really good. Orenchi is one of them. There's actually an Orenchi down here in Redwood City too. So they've got a few spots, but it's marinated chicken thighs that's been kind of chopped up into smaller pieces. And then fried in usually a light batter. And if it's super crispy, not greasy, it's made properly.
Right.
And, man, that's so good. Like if you bypass, they usually serve like a sweet mayo. Sometimes there's a salad with it.
Yeah.
My favorite top tier chicken karaage is sold at Himawari in San Mateo.
Okay.
I believe they are on 2nd Street. But it's a ramen spot, good ramen, but their chicken karaage is by far some of the best I've ever had.
I got to go try that then.
It's, I think they use a lighter rice flour or maybe even a potato starch because it gets that bubbly, really white crisp on it.
I love that.
So it's not heavily battered. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah,
we don't want beer, beer battered fish and chips, it has its own category, but this is light, flavorful. Chicken thighs are always tender anyway. Right. And then you get to, do whatever you want. Dip it in hot sauce, mayo. But they serve it with a little spicy salad, the sweet mayo, the QP mayo, and some lime. And
that's all you need.
Super good. And then you eat that before your bowl of ramen, and you're good to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So chicken karaage, folks.
Chicken karaage.
Yeah. Let's see. We can go into anything else you want to talk about. I ask, any unique dishes, but you brought up a ton of unique dishes. Anything family-wise, like growing up, that your family makes? At holidays or anything?
Yeah.
Something comes up?
There's always been a holiday staple that my family has done. As I said kind of earlier, my parents were gone traveling a lot. So when they were home, we would just go out to eat. So they didn't do a lot of cooking at home, but Christmas... So my background is on my father's side, I'm Swedish, and my mother's, I'm also Swedish, but Russian, and kind of a mutt on my mother's side. But a tradition that was passed down from my dad's grandparents to his parents to him to me is Lutefisk. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Dave.
Nope.
So
new one to me.
It's Christmas. It's a fish. It's traditionally it's a white fish like cod.
Okay. Something
like that. It's pickled in lye for quite some time. And I believe they did this for preservation purposes back in the day, whatever. Sure. And then so to prep the fish after it's been pickled in lye, you have to soak it for like 5 to 6 days in water, and you have to change that water daily. So then your fish is ready to eat, right? So you throw it in the oven, you cook it for, blanking now, but however long you cook it. and the fish comes out and it's like this gelatinous glob of, I mean, it's like, it jiggles. It's very, very strange. It's kind of off-putting. When I was little, I would always eat some because I was told like eat some but now actually, I talk about my fear of consistency in certain foods. Like this is a horrible consistency. There's not too much good about lutefisk. You have to drown it in butter for any sort of flavor. It's just kind of a gelatinous blob and with an aftertaste of fish. It's very strange. I don't know why it's a Swedish tradition or Norwegian, just Scandinavian tradition, but it's what we eat at Christmas. And so we'll also have like meatballs and stuff like that. But that's been a staple from my childhood up until now. I mean, now we host it in San Francisco at our house, and I'll cook it. You have to go to this special store in Berkeley. That's the only place that I know that sells it.
That actually makes it prepared already.
They don't make. Yeah. I buy it frozen. So I think it's shipped from like Norway or Sweden.
Okay.
But so they don't actually make it, but it's a cool little Scandinavian store over in Berkeley on blanking on what, maybe Shattuck. I don't know the East Bay very well. I only go there for that. But yeah.
Berkeley's awesome.
Berkeley is a cool city. Yeah. I wish I spent a little more time over there. I'm a city guy. You know that, Dave.
Yeah.
I don't leave San Francisco.
We'll get you over there. I got some spots for you.
All right.
I got some Berkeley spots.
Yeah.
Worked over there for a little while.
What'd you do over there?
I worked at Cafe Rouge for a little while. Yeah.
Cafe Rouge.
Nice little burger / bistro. Burger, I say that because that was their top item, but like it was a bistro, so they served a lot of different food, and worked there for a minute. Yeah.
I always forget
off of 3rd Street.
3rd Street. Yeah. Okay.
The main, the main street.
Yeah. But before you and I met in the police department, you had a whole life like in the food world. I mean, you and I always forget this. Like, didn't you work at the hotel down on Powell Street?
No, I didn't. A friend did. I never did the hotel. So just a brief. I've kind of give this in my intro, but I'll give this to Chris because he forgets. But like, no, nothing against you forgetting. No. I'll let you hear it again, and people can hear it again. It's like, so I went to my culinary training is from the City College San Francisco program. They have a great 2-year program. I recommend it. Don't recommend those other expensive places because it's a relatively inexpensive 2-year program, hotel and restaurant program. They give you everything you need to know. And it's a small teacher to class student rate. That ratio is smaller. So you learn a lot quickly. And a lot of times you'll do other stuff. And I worked during that. I actually had a friend, his brother was a sous chef at Coletto's on Powell Street. Mm-hmm. So I worked there for quite a while I was going to culinary school. But yeah, so I cooked professionally for 5 years. And just kind of worked all over the city for a little bit. I worked at Frangal down at 4th and Brandon.
Right. I knew that. Yeah.
4th and Brandon with Gerald Hirigoyen. Hopefully I get Gerald on at some point. He still owns a restaurant. He owns Piper Rod.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So on
it's off of Embarcadero.
No, it's on Battery. Or not Battery. It's on Sansom. No, Piper Rod. The Basque place, right?
Yeah.
Really good, man.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a while, but it's really, really good.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to go over there. He'll be kind of in shock. He was my internship basically at the end of my program.
Yeah. Okay.
And I truly enjoyed it. I watched him make a cookbook while he was there with his wife in the back.
Nice.
But he would like go to the front of the house, speak to his French waiters in French.
Yeah.
Come to the back of the kitchen, speak Spanish to all the guys but me.
Yeah.
Even though I look like I speak Spanish to some people, and then speak English to me and tell me, hurry up, this is how you got to do this. And it's just watch that flow, and then just to watch him go back, like, making Basque dishes, which is, the region between France and Spain,
right,
which is a whole nother cuisine in itself. And then to watch him go back there and on a little stove, work through recipes. And cassoulet was one of the ones that I never knew what cassoulet was. It's a white bean stew.
Yeah. Very
famous Basque dish. And he was working on that. And then I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. But yeah, so I have that background. And then, I got burnt out. I did for 5 years. I worked all over the place, did some corporate food service for a while with Guggenheimer, and then worked with another small company after that, and then just got burnt out.
It's hard work.
It's easy to get burnt out. Long hours, low pay. If you don't own the place, you feel like you're not doing anything. Nothing's ever get done. You feel like you're, it's tough. It's tough, and you do your best to please everyone. You can't. Right. You always know that you can't please everyone. Even though you made the perfect piece of salmon or steak, and then people are still complaining about it, and you're like, okay,
what are you gonna do?
And then and then just I broke off from there and got into customer service at a high-end dealer down here on the peninsula. Worked there, and while I was working there, started an application for the police department, and then the rest is here we are.
We met. Here we are.
And then like with the department and working in the city, I mean, you're front row seat to some of the best restaurants you've ever seen.
Always.
All the time. And you get to see some that are opening. You get to see some that have been there a long time.
Yeah.
Like Swan's Oyster Depot and Jack's and Perry's has been there a long time. Oh, yeah. And, Japantown and Chinatown. And
hey, when we were working the mission, did we ever go to San Jalisco together on 21st in South Van Ness? In my opinion, the best birria I've ever had.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Okay. No, we haven't been there.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I know there's another place that has the chicharrones down there too, somewhere.
Okay.
But I think that's 24th Street. But
yeah.
No. But birria is a big thing now.
Oh,
those tacos.
So good.
Shout out to Chris Silva. He's got his own food truck in South City. Silva's Mexican Kitchen. And to me, right now, he's got the best right now. They're crispy, which is what I like, the texture.
Yeah.
And everything else. And you guys can see it on my Instagram. I post about it all the time.
Is he working today? Maybe I'll hit it on my way back up.
I think he's off today. He was working yesterday. Got to see him yesterday, and I'll get him on too. He's got a cool story.
Cool. Yeah.
Young guy working. Family traditions. Lutefisk, huh?
Lutefisk.
And then just kind of, just to, I appreciate you coming on, and a few things left to talk about, but not a whole lot. But I ask everyone, not everybody, but sometimes you have a favorite tool, and every day, it's our EDC everyday carry. Is there something that you like to carry, or is there something that you're like, oh, the kitchen needs this?
Anything? Well, so there's a couple things sorry, I'm okay. So on they're always in my pocket, and this isn't kitchen related, but this is always in my pocket. And that's the Skeletool right there. Oh, sorry, that shouldn't be in there, but that's my Skeletool. And, because it's a Leatherman Skeletool. I'm always cutting boxes open. My wife orders a million things from Amazon. So cutting boxes open, fixing toys for my kid, putting batteries in, that can do it all. So that's always in my pocket.
This is an awesome tool. I've been meaning actually to get one of these.
Well, hey,
glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yes. Here I am looking at a stainless steel. This is all stainless steel Leatherman Skeletool. Very nice.
Now, kitchen related, what I've been using lately as my all-to go-to tool is. Hold on, I'm going to back up for a minute.
Uh-oh.
And this is yours, by the way, Dave.
Oh, he's busting out something here. I was wondering why he brought his backpack in here. Holy moly.
So this is what I've been using in the kitchen lately. That's for you, Dave. Brand new one. But that is the Kevin's Clean Pan. And that's by Kevin's Natural Food. It's a clean pan. Yeah, it's metal-free ceramic. Totally nonstick. Man, I cook everything in this. And for me, cleanup in the kitchen is the most annoying thing. This is so simple to clean. I've never worked with a pan like it. And I do a lot less cooking than you. So I'm very curious to see what you think of it.
Yeah. This is awesome. This is like a 12-inch deep.
Yeah, it's 12-inch.
Deep dish pan with a lid, clear glass lid. Kevin's Natural Foods.
Yep. Kevin's Natural Foods.
What is Kevin's Natural Foods?
So Kevin's Natural Foods is my father-in-law and my wife have a family business, and they're involved in all sorts of ventures with apparel, with food, everything, you name it, they're involved in it. And Kevin's Natural Foods is their latest kind of venture into the food world. My my father-in-law was a chef, got his start in restaurants, has done pretty much everything since he was a kid. I think he started working at 12 or 13 in the kitchen back in those days, and didn't stop. And so his background was always in food. He got out of food for many, many years, but he owned restaurants and then sold them, and got into the apparel business. That's, Kelsey started her career in the apparel business, and then they got back into food. And Kevin's Natural Foods is their venture back into food. And they do sous vide meat, and that comes with sauces, kind of quick, ready to eat meals. And they also just sell the sauces by themselves, and they're all paleo friendly and trying to be very healthy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I've heard about it briefly.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I'm glad you broke it down for us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's my interpretation. Of course, Kelsey and Dan would be able to break it down much better, but that's mine. And I also brought you some sample of our sauces and for you to try, Dave.
Awesome.
And awesome. I mean,
I will, me, I'll get right on them.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
And it's like, I'm not a cooker like you. I'm just not. I live to go out.
Yeah.
But these sauces, I'll cook them.
I'm going to change that though.
Yeah, no, I know. I want to become more of one, but these are great go-tos for me. I just, cook up some meat really quick, throw in the sauce, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, it looks great. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah.
Couple more things and we'll close it out. But one dish or recipe everybody should know about that you think, if you're not, if you're not the best cook, but maybe is there a dish you're like, you need to try this?
Something that just comes to mind right away is uni. I know that's not, but I just think everybody, that is for me, man. Just try it. If you're scared of trying it, I think everybody needs to try it. That is something that whenever I eat it, I close my eyes and I'm like, I don't even know. This is just unbelievable. The experience I'm having right now. So I don't know. That's not a dish per se. It's an ingredient, but it's something that
is a dish. I mean, it's you're right. It's an ingredient. It's a sea urchin.
Yeah.
And for folks never heard of uni, uni's Japanese for sea urchin. It's this purple spiked shelled sea creature, basically.
Yeah.
And it's cracked open, and inside are its body parts, and it's got kind of an orangey looking thing, and it's good. I like it. I enjoyed it. My mom's Japanese and she didn't enjoy it.
She didn't like it.
She didn't like it. And that's just her. I don't want to ruin the experience for anyone else. If Chris is telling you to try it, then you need to try it and then decide for yourself.
Yeah, that's all I ask.
We won't give you anything else. Don't look it up. Just try it. The next time you're at a good sushi spot, they'll have it. There's mostly two kinds. There's Santa Barbara uni and there's Hokkaido uni.
Yeah.
So if you're local to Santa Barbara, get Santa Barbara uni because it's going to be closest to you. And then if you got Hokkaido uni coming from Japan, get that too.
Yeah.
I like it. And then you've kind of brought up businesses wise.
Yeah.
Kevin's Natural Foods. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll look into that. We'll put the links in the thing. And thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Appreciate
thank you, Dave. On. Yeah, man. This is fun.
This is great, man.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Take care, everybody. We're out. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support, and thanks for listening.